Okay, we gonna keep talking about this whole Adam and Eve thing because it's just so good and so juicy. All right, so let me break this down for you, for those of you that don't know. Satan's whole agenda is to snuff out generations from being born. Satan does not like mankind. He wants to destroy mankind because he can't destroy God. We are God's most prized possession. We are his greatest treasure. He loves us more than anything else. He built us to have companionship with and communion with, right? And Satan hates this. So he tries everything that he can to snuff out generations being born, to stop mankind. You can see this as early as with like the Nephilim situation and as early as with Adam and Eve sinning, okay? He does not want mankind to multiply. And so he does everything that he can to get in the way of that. You can literally see that today. Like, look at homosexuality. Homosexuals cannot reproduce. So he's like, sweet, they can't have kids. Transgenderism, you cannot reproduce if you have chosen to change whatever gender that you were born as. If you change that, you are now sterile. You cannot reproduce. So Satan's like, sweet. And I mean, we can even see it through abortion as well. Obviously, we know that every single abortion ends with the loss of a life. And Satan again is like, sweet, snuffed that one out too. So we can even see this biblically whenever you talk about, the Nephilim and how he was trying to taint the bloodline of mankind so that the bloodline of Jesus would be tainted. He tries this at every turn. This is his objective. This is his only objective, is to destroy us, keep us from multiplying, keep us from reproducing, obviously, and to keep us from having a relationship with Christ. So what's interesting about that is when you talk about Adam and Eve and how they sinned in the garden, what's interesting is when they were punished, God punished them in such a way that it was going to make it really difficult to continue procreating rather, little human beings. We see that, you can read that in the book of Genesis, still in chapter 3, where he talks about the curses that he puts on mankind. And one of those is, he's going to make childbirth really painful now. And obviously that's something that might deter people from having kids. Like, I've met women that say, ooh, that childbirth seems pretty painful. I don't want to have kids because of that, whatever. And that's something that is a curse, and that was a curse given to us by God. But through Christ, we're able to overcome this, which is why we needed Jesus. The other thing that you think about is God does say in his word that now, because you have done this, that now Eve's desire will be to rule over her husband. We know that the way that God has planned this to be is that the head of your household obviously is God first, okay? And then your husband, and then the wife, and then the children, and so on. But because of this knowledge that they gained, there's going to be strife between husband and wife, and there's going to be that butting of heads. How many wives do you know that they go out in public and they're called an alpha female, and they're, entrepreneurs, which there's nothing wrong being an entrepreneur, but you leave that at the office. You don't bring that into your home, because the leader of your home is God, then your husband, and then you, correct? And so we see this all the time with women who can't submit to their husband, and we see men who aren't submitting to God. And that's a problem, which obviously makes it difficult, again, to continue on having babies, having families, nuclear families, which Satan hates. Another thing that you think about is now they know shame. Because they realize, it talks about how they realize now that they're naked, and God literally has to make clothes for them out of the skin of animals. Well, it's, pretty well known fact that married couples a lot of times struggle with that special kind of intimacy in the bedroom. it stems from the sin, because we're not supposed to have shame in the bedroom with our husband or our wife, depending on if you're the female or you're the male. But you're not supposed to have shame in the bedroom. And unfortunately, because of what they did, there is now shame. And so what's kind of really cool though about the human race is, in spite of what the enemy meant for evil, and God did have to punish us, he punished us and he had to. I mean, that's justified. We can still overcome that through God and through serving the Lord and through reading his word and through knowing what our roles are as female and as male and as husband and as wife. And by listening to God's word and to God's truth and coming back to him.